Jacksonville, Florida, a major tourist hotspot known for its seaport's vibrant neighborhoods and scenic coastline. Not far from the bustling beaches, there's a low-income neighborhood that would become the backdrop for a perverse and mysterious series of crimes. Around 10:30 p.m. on January 1, 2003, family members of 19-year-old Nikia Chanel Kilpatrick went to her Spanish Oaks apartment in Jacksonville, Florida, to check up on her. No one in the family had heard from her for several days, which was unusual, considering it was the holiday season. When some of the family members arrived at the house, they were surprised and worried to see Nikia's 2-year-old son banging on the window as if pleading for help. Upon entering the apartment, a putrid stench overwhelmed them. Something was terribly wrong. Nikia was nowhere in sight. However, as they walked through the apartment, they found Nikia's 11-month-old son crawling around on the floor. To their horror, they discovered Nikia's decomposing remains lying in one of the bedrooms. She had been bound and strangled to death with a cord. The police were immediately called to the scene. Investigators conducted an extensive search of the home and its surroundings. Soon afterward, Nikia's body was removed and taken to the coroner. The medical investigation later revealed evidence pointing to Nikia having non-consensual sex and being murdered up to 48 hours before the discovery of her body. Further examination of the body revealed that she had been 6 months pregnant at the time of her death. Although Nikia's 2 small children were unharmed, they suffered from malnutrition as well as the trauma of being confined with their mother's corpse. The boys managed to survive by eating dried food from the kitchen. They were put in the care of Nikia's family. Investigators were able to collect vital physical evidence from the murder scene, yet the evidence did not lead to the identity of the murderer. Police were confident that the murder was not the killer's first, as some aspects of the crime appeared too organized. It was further speculated that Nikia would not be his last victim. Their speculations proved accurate as, within the space of approximately 1 month, 3 more bodies would be discovered, attributed to the same killer. Moreover, 3 other murders, including that of another unborn child, would later be added to the list, totaling 8 known victims. It quickly became clear that Jacksonville had a terrifying serial killer on its hands. 20-year-old Shawanda Denise McAllister was an independent and hardworking girl, determined to forge a successful and happy life. She simultaneously worked as a certified nursing assistant and attended school in the hopes of one day climbing the ladder within the medical field. However, all of her dreams were cut short by the hands of a ruthless killer. On January 10, 2003, Shawanda was found strangled to death with a cord in her Jacksonville apartment on Arco Drive. In many ways, Shawanda's death bore marked similarities to Nikia's murder. Like Nikia, there was evidence of non-consensual sex, and both victims had been bound in a similar manner. Also, like Nikia, she had been pregnant at the time of her death. Investigators suspected that Shawanda and Nikia died at the hands of the same killer. Investigators also linked another previous murder to that of Shawanda and Nikia. On December 19, 2002, police discovered the remains of 18-year-old Nicole L. Williams, found wrapped in a light blue blanket in a ditch on Soodle Drive in Jacksonville. It was suggested that she was murdered in a local Jacksonville hotel. Nicole had been bound and strangled, like Shawanda and Nikia, and there was also evidence of non-consensual sex. Moreover, investigators revealed that the DNA taken from the unknown assailant matched samples taken from all 3 victims. There was little doubt that the same killer was responsible for the deaths of the 3 women. On February 5, 2003, a construction crew clearing out a vacant lot on New Kings Road in Jacksonville made a gruesome discovery. Workers found the remains of 17-year-old Giovanna Tyrica Jackson in a ditch. She had been missing since January 20, 2003. The police were immediately called to the scene. Shortly after their arrival, they discovered the remains of another young woman 6 feet from where Giovanna's body had been found. The young woman was later identified as a 19-year-old mother of 2, Sarita and Cohen, who had been missing since February 4. Ron Ward of the Associated Press reported that evidence suggested the girls' hands had been bound behind their backs, and there was also evidence of non-consensual sex prior to their deaths. However, one of the most vital clues of the investigation was revealed when witnesses claimed to have seen both Giovanna and Sarita with a cab driver prior to their disappearance. It was the cab driver's clue that linked the case to a man named Paul Durousseau. Paul Durousseau was born on August 11, 1970, in Beaumont, Texas, and moved around frequently throughout his life. To date, little is known about his childhood, but it is known that Paul had a checkered history, including an extensive police record dating back to 1991. According to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, Paul's first known arrests took place in December 1991. According to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, Paul's first known arrests took place in December 1991 and January 1992 for two separate accounts of concealing firearms in California. Paul then enlisted in the United States Army and was temporarily stationed in Germany. While there, he met a 21-year-old servicewoman at a nightclub, and they fell in love. Marrying in Las Vegas, Nevada, in 1995. The two were then transferred to Fort Benning, Georgia, where Paul's legal problems began to emerge. He was arrested and later acquitted on charges of the 1997 kidnapping and non-consensual sex with a young woman. 1 month following his acquittal, a young woman, Tracy Haversham, was found dead. But for some reason, Paul was not a suspect in the crime. Paul was found in possession of stolen goods, which led to a court-martial hearing and is being discharged early from the Army. Paul's legal issues put a tremendous strain on his marriage. Following his dishonorable discharge, he found it increasingly difficult to find a job. He worked in a series of temporary positions, yet it remained difficult for the couple to make ends meet. In 1997, they relocated to his wife's hometown of Jacksonville, where they moved into an apartment on Moncrief Road. Soon after, they welcomed the birth of a new baby girl into their family, which was quickly followed by the birth of another little girl approximately 1 year later. Interviews with friends and neighbors of the couple suggested that they continued to experience tremendous marital strain during the late 1990s. Paul was described by acquaintances as a lewd womanizer who often fought with his wife over financial problems, his inability to maintain a job, and his adulterous behavior. Paul frequently made sexually suggestive comments to area women and attempted to seduce young girls in the neighborhood. On occasion, the couple's marital spats would escalate to the point of physical violence. The Times-Union wrote in August 1999, police told Durousseau's wife how to seek a domestic violence restraining order after she told them she was slapped and that her husband tried to grab her.